Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Crypto News Podcast. That's your host, Matt Zeha. We are buzzing as always. And folks, we have been getting DMs on DMs on DMs. I've been getting lit up. Crypto News has been getting lit up. Y'all want some more AI guests on the pod. And boy, oh boy, are we in for an absolute treat today. We have the one and only Sean Wren on the show today, CEO and co-founder of Sahara AI, a decentralized blockchain platform built for AI, backed by the top investors in the space, including Pantera, Polychain, Sequoia, Samsung, Matrix, and many more. They have raised over 40 schmil to advance decentralized AI and are currently trusted by 35 plus leading tech innovators and research institutions such as Microsoft, Amazon, MIT, Character AI, and Snapchat, if you've ever heard of them, to name a few. Sean is also the associate professor in Comp Sci and the Andrew and Erna Viterbi Early Career Chair at the University of Southern California, where he is the principal investigator of the Intelligence and Knowledge Discovery Research Lab. Wow, what a mouthful. Prior to this, he was a data science advisor at Snapchat and completed his PhD in Comp Sci from the University of Illinois. What a bio. Holy crap. He's done a bunch, innovation and everything. Samsung AI Researcher of the Year in 2023. One of the true AI goats. Sean, super pumped to have you on. Welcome to the show, my friend. How you doing this lovely evening?
Thank you, Matt. Glad to be here. Don't worry about the titles. I'm here just to chat with you about all of these like AI hypes that we have these days.
I love it. I mean, easiest place to start here. DeepSeek, that was just an absolute bomb. Again, this episode will air mid-Feb, but man, oh man, at the end of Jan, this rocked the world. Multiple $100 billion from the crypto market cap gone. I believe $1 trillion in 2 days from the American stock exchanges gone. OpenAI, tripping balls, Google, Amazon, Meta, everyone. Oh shit, we just spent trillions of dollars on data centers and infrastructure, and these guys across the pond can do it for $6 million, not using NVIDIA processors. What the hell is going on with DeepSeek, my friend? Is this real, or should we be worried about this? Is this good for the space? Give me just a good old blanket thoughts, everything you got on DeepSeek to kick off the show here.
Yeah, I mean, definitely it's a good thing overall, right? So if you're looking at the bigger picture, DeepSeek, number one, is a entirely open models. That means like not only they allow anyone to download and use the model for free, is even for commercial purpose, but they also give out an entire recipe of the model. Anyone with the proper sort of computing infrastructure can reproduce the model, can build on top of it, can generate DeepSeek slash Llama slash whatever kind of like preceding models that do it even better on and specialize on different things. So I think overall, it just means anyone or like a broader set of people can actually take advantage of such a great model capability that's on par with OpenAI GPT-o1, that is on par with Llama 3, and much better than many of the other commercial models out there, right? And that's a great news for the open source community, for the decentralized AI community. And I think that at the same time, the bad news probably to many of the tech giants, especially the centralized AI players like Google, Meta, OpenAI, and also many of the investors of these companies that put in hundreds of $billions in the past 2 years into this entire space of building foundational model. They realized that, hey, you can actually build a good model as good as the ChatGPT-o1, but then 10 times cheaper. So you shouldn't be evaluating such a valuations, right? I mean, there's lots of like these post discussions and sort of budget cut discussions and sort of the architecture shifting from the existing one to the new one. Probably lots of organizational updates to these companies. I think we will see the aftermath very soon from all these companies and players.
That's wild. I mean, yeah, I'm sure you played around with it. It is pretty cool. For me, at least, Sean, it's the first time that I've seen the thinking behind the AI, you know, like how it just sort of maps everything out. Normally I'm just waiting for ChatGPT or Claude or any of the ones that we currently or at least used to have access to. And, you know, it's like thinking, boom, it spits out the answer, which is still brilliant. And I still use them every single day. There's always some type of LLM model open on my computer. I feel like a lot of us are in the same boat there, but how cool is seeing it think? It's pretty wild, eh?
Yeah, totally. I mean, to be honest, speaking out about the thinking process or the reasoning process by the model is not a new thing, right? The research has been done as early as like 3 years ago, when people called it like chain of thought reasoning. Back then, I was initially actually proposed by a bunch of folks from Google research. And there was like these prototypes and demos showing, oh, GPT-3 can actually use channel fault reasoning to tell you how to reach to the answer of a math questions by breaking down into like 3, 5 steps. And then I think O1 was just taking this to a new level by saying, hey, why don't we try asking the model to explore how to solve a problem, trying this like tens of thousands of times. Maybe 90% of those trials are failures, but then 10% of them actually got success. So they got those very weak signals telling them, hey, this is the right path to get to the right answer. Let's reinforce ourselves to learn on those correct paths and then try to move away from those failure paths. So that was the kind of partial success done by GPT-01 back then. And then I think DeepSeek is really just taking this to a next level, saying that, hey, we can train in such a principle but with much better architecture that is lower cost in terms of the computation on both the training of the model as well as inferencing or the prediction of the model. So really the ideas was initially created 3 years ago. The initial success was done by O1 about half a years ago, and then DeepSeek really take this to the very massive adoption and sort of good enough sort of in terms of cost effectiveness. So that's a great news for the entire world.
So cool. Let's jump into Sahara here. I mean, so many different ways we can take this, and obviously you have a crazy background. Everyone sort of thinks they're an AI expert. Like, like my parents think I'm an AI expert, and like all I use is LLMs and, and image and video generating tools. Like, like at the end of the day, I don't know shit about shit. And then there's people like you, deep in the weeds. You've been deep in the weeds for a while. You're at the forefront of it. You've raised multi-million dollars to build an AI company. I think before we get into sort of your overall take on how crypto and AI work together in the convergence, I think we should start with Sahara. Give us the elevator pitch, what you guys are doing, what you guys are building, what's the goal, and how you're going to provide a huge solution to a good sized problem in the space.
Yeah, one sentence intro of Sahara AI is we're trying to create these copyright systems, open ledgers for AI development, basically. A little bit more elaboration on what does that mean is basically like AI development is a super complex and sophisticated process starting from collecting data, massaging the data into data sets that are ready to for the model to learn from, or what we call fine-tuning. And models will be fine-tuned and trained for multiple iterations until it's good enough to be deployed and then integrated with applications at the very downstream use cases. Let's say if you're creating a sort of virtual KOL bot on Twitter, right? You need to connect that to Twitter APIs so that they can start posting, replying, looking at what other people talk to them. But then underlying is a model that is able to digest whatever Twitter API send it to it. And that model need to be trained with apparently lots of quality data that is generated by, say, data labelers on top of the tweets. And this model can be built on top of Llama, can be built on top of DeepSeek, right? But you definitely need some sort of customizations. And the customizations require data sets, require compute power. So that's where all these stakeholders come together. Everyone doing different jobs, making different part of contribution to eventually create a successful, monetizable applications powered by AI. And what we want is to really bookkeep and trace every single important contributions in this process, in this life cycle of creating the AI. And then with this infrastructure that are sort of recorded on the blockchain of Sahara AI platform, we can autonomously attribute all of the money made by the very end AI, right? The Twitter bots, for example, is getting gifts, getting donations, getting tips, creating sales of their content.
It's insane.
This money
is insane.
Yeah, can automatically attribute back to the compute providers of that model training, the recipe of the model behind that, the data set, collection, depot, and labelers, all through smart contract in a permissionless, decentralized way. That's kind of the ultimate ecosystem we're trying to create. And apparently, in order to do that, you need at least two things. You need a one-stop shop for people to create models from the beginning to the end using different development tools. And we build that as different product on our product suite. I can talk more about that. And the second most important part is a blockchain that are underneath of this whole development process that is able to bookkeep everything. And then it's basically be used to do a revenue sharing mechanisms, be used to create licensing tokens, contribution tokens around these AI assets, namely the data sets and models. Right? So that's like a high level idea. And just a little bit more about why we start working on such a copyright system around AI, right? Because I spent like quite some time on a model called GPT-3. This is a model that is very much less known by people because the next model is just so popular, which is called ChatGPT. And people call ChatGPT basically as GPT 3.5. The reason that it's adding a zero point 0.5 on top of 3 is because it's only a very marginal changes on top of GPT-3. You just add a sort of a UI, like a chat interface on top of GPT-3. But then now it becomes so much natural to interact with. So everyone started using it and knowing about it. But back then, when I was using GPT-3, I realized that it's outperforming average humans on many fronts. We're talking about translation, summarizing, answering common sense questions, all sort of things. And as an AI researchers for over 10 years, I see this apparently as another big breakthroughs where people would say, hey, let's make it cheaper to deploy. Let's make it even stronger. But at the same time, my perspective when talking a lot with my co-founder, Tyler, who is apparently like a Web3 crypto native person. He's been an investment directors from Binance Lab. He inspired me a lot in terms of the keyword ownership, because I realized that when the model becomes so good, to the extent that it can start automating our jobs, right? It automate my jobs of writing recommendation letters, sometimes replying emails, generating teaching contents. It probably automates some of our jobs in creating scripts and compiling some programs.
100%.
Yeah. And we start worry about our skill set's gonna get replaced by these models one day because we've been using them in a way that we're giving out our personal information. Like I keep uploading my emails, some part of my papers drafts, and some of my notes to this model in order to better customize it for my own use cases. But at the same time, I've given out all this private information. So then they can train on top of this data and become as good as I do over time. And this process is a problem down the road with the centralized players like OpenAI, Google, and Meta, because you lose your ownership to this data and knowledge over time. And one day you will realize that your jobs can be automated by GPT-7 or 8. And it was gonna be too late for you to really like revert everything. So the problem statements back then is simply just to say, hey, every time when I give out my feedbacks to the AI model, when I upload useful data to improve the model, I should trace my ownership on how my data was used over time by these different model pipelines, right? And I want this trace to be kind of transparent. Everyone can audit. And also I want it to be, you cannot modify it anymore once it's been established, right? And currently blockchain is a perfect infrastructure to do this. And it's becoming feasible to do this because of all sort of verifications and sort of hardware acceleration kind of innovations that we have in the past year. And so basically that's why we start thinking about building Sahara AI as a platform that attract developers to use the tools to create AI from the beginning to the end, while having a blockchain to trace all of the contributions. So then everyone can properly claim their ownerships on all of these intermediate results of the process.
I love that. That's wild. So I just want to go over one quick thing here, Sean. The main use cases of blockchain and AI, obviously the tokens, because, and even just seeing OpenAI's, oh God, what was it called? How am I forgetting the name? Brain fart here. What did they release last week? The agents, what was the name for it?
I think it's called some operators, right? I remember the modifier for that.
Operators, that's it, exactly, operators. So when they launched operators, which is just the sort of autonomous agent that we've been dreaming and been extremely horny for a couple of years now, which allows you to, I say, hey, book me a flight to see Sean in Hong Kong, boom, it books me the flight, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot more risk in giving the AI your bank account, obviously the personal information. Most, Web2 folks don't want to do that. But giving access to your crypto account is a lot easier. It's a lot easier to send. There's less controls. If you give it the private keys and the seed phrase, you're off to the races. You don't need to keep interacting with it. The tokens make a lot of sense. You sort of need that financial aspect of crypto, and then you need the ledger of the blockchain and the power of AI. It sort of works synonymously and creates that perfect little match. But I love your point about the issue of copyright AI taking all of our data, giving us no ownership. Without the blockchain, there's really no super seamless and efficient way to sort of have that ledger that tracks our data in a very transparent fashion that gives us credit and actually traces what we put into it. Am I sort of on the right track there?
You are, but I want to add on top of that. I think you brought up a very important discussion point is the transparency and the bookkeeping of the personal contribution is one important part of the puzzle. But then the privacy and security of your personal data model is another important part of the puzzle. And that's equally important because if you give away your data sets and your model in terms of the recipe, then your model will lose the monetization opportunity down the road. I mean, apparently DeepSeek is a different story. Those are foundational model where everyone can build on top of it to make your life better. But then when you start connecting DeepSeek with your financial reports, your credit card transactions, your emails, your personal media repository, you can really create some sort of personalized agent that is like a replica of yourself that is able to 10x your productivity as a content creators or product manager. And you don't want to give away those data. And so you need security and privacy at the same time while bookkeeping the contribution. And to get both of them is very tricky, but I think we've seen very promising developments. For example, one prominent technique is called trusted execution environment. It's basically like a hardware encryption environment that attached to Intel CPUs and some NVIDIA GPUs. Then you can deploy your agent on top of that. While the agent doing all sort of computation, it doesn't leak your information, but you can also verify the computation logic so that you know exactly it is doing the things it's supposed to be doing. Yeah.
Super cool. Sean, you're in a role here. We do need to take a quick break and do a huge shout out to our sponsor of the show. And when we get back, we're going to take a deep dive into, of course, Sahara, but more specifically, creating personalized knowledge agents and how you can tailor these individual business. And when we get back, we are going to talk about creating personalized knowledge agents and how these KAs can enable users to monetize and automate their knowledge capital, which is absolutely wild. Until then, huge shout out to Prime XPT, longtime friends and longtime sponsors of the Crypto News podcast. We love their team as they offer a robust trading system for both beginners and professional traders. It doesn't matter if you're a rookie or a vet. You can easily design and customize your layouts and widgets to best fit your trading style. Prime XPT is also running an exclusive promo for listeners of the Crypto News podcast. Use the promo code CryptoNews50. That is CryptoNews50, CryptoNews50, all one word, to receive 50% of your deposit credited to your trading account. And now back to the show with Sean. Sean, you gotta give me a big old deep dive here, dude, on these knowledge agents, also called KAs. This is what I've been waiting for a while. You sort of just discussed this. This is, I believe, relatively similar to the OpenAI's operators. I know a lot of different companies are working on these. This is something that I both love and scares the living shit out of me. I feel like a lot of the world who hasn't worked that hard, perhaps, in monetizing both their hard and soft skills will be pretty hooped and pretty screwed once these really kick off and go mainstream, as they will just be, 100x more efficient, 100x cheaper than humans. And I'd love for you to take a deep dive into KAs and how they will literally just make our lives so friggin' easy and so friggin' efficient.
I mean, I think the easiest way to understand what a not personal agent is versus what is like large language model you just talked about, including DeepSeek and OpenAI o1, is that a personal agent is not just simply a model, but it's a model connected to your vault of personal informations, right? So that it can really operationalize and think in the same way like you. For example, if you have your computer, that's like the model that you can operate. But a computer wouldn't be productive if you don't save your documents and all of these like productivity materials on it so that it can be operationalized to really finish tasks. So I think today, if you think about these language models like DeepSeek, they are more like an operating system of your computer that can be used to digest any of the information you fit it to it and then turn into action items. But the information still need to quickly come from yourself because you are the valuable individuals that have your established business and revenue streams, and you want to really scale up your revenue by finding an agent can do 24/7 jobs for you, talking to 100x more customers per day to you. And I think that's the amazing part. Even in the case of the DeFi agent, if you are a good trader, you have your own recipe and you'll have your own sort of a formulas for the portfolio management. Now you just want to fit that recipe to the agent and ask the agent to grab all of the information available on the internet and then trying to do these things mimicking your thinking process, right? You wouldn't ask the agent to create an entirely new and unvetted strategy for you. You are still, the person is still the brand, and the brand is generating data saved in different forms of personal documents, and then you fit that to the agent to let the agent to operationalize. I think that's like the kind of the bigger picture of what is going on with personal agent. And that's why the ownership become naturally a key part of it, because you don't want these valuable personal informations to gradually go into a centralized AI players like Google or OpenAI, so then they know the billions of people what's their secret recipe, right? You want to keep your secret recipe confidential for yourself. And that's why we are really looking for an ecosystem where AI models are readily available to individual in a local kind of interface manner, right? So you don't have to write programs of Pythons in order to turn DeepSeek into a chat Twitter bot. You can maybe just talk to an interface, say, hey, I want DeepSeek to read my office documents, you to read my emails. By just talking to them like you're talking to a student, you're able to ask them to connect to different dots of your personal information. I think that will be the perfect situations down the road. And I think we probably are only a year or two away from that kind of advancement.
That's absolutely, I mean, that's wild. Some crazy times ahead here, Sean. A couple more questions here, my friend, as we are getting a little tight for time. One of my favorite parts about your guys' platform is the marketplace, which is absolutely huge. This includes models and data sets, which allows contributors to earn revenue through usage fees and royalties. Just a really collaborative environment where AI development, both inclusive and profitable for all participants involved. I feel like we need a hell of a lot more of this, and the marketplace just makes it so easy. And to my knowledge, you can also, for people like me, the non-tech savvy folks, can also come on, work some magic, and actually have the opportunity to obtain and earn some recurring rev. I'd love if you could tell us a little bit more about the marketplace and what the overall purpose of that is.
Yeah, I mean, I could give a top-down view, right? So at the very high level, we have three marketplaces. We have a marketplace of models, pipeline. Basically, everyone can say, hey, I create my own Twitter board pipelines and then publish it. Anyone can pay to use it by pay as go kind of sort of a plan. And then we have a marketplace of data sets. And this is the very interesting part, because pricing data sets has been a decade-long puzzle. No one has figured out how to price a data set, because data sets value is so depending on how you use it. You can use it in a really like kind of a garbage way that it doesn't have any value added to your AI pipelines, but you can also use it in a very nice way. So I think innovations here on the data marketplace is like you purchase a data sets by giving the data sets some share of the model that are creating on top of it. So if the model perform well, then the data set owners get more revenue shares. If the model doesn't perform well, then they get zero shares, right? Rather than paying $1,000 for these data sets to use it for a month, which we don't think this is like the best pricing model for data set. And then number three, we have this what we call data service marketplace, where the supply side is people who have free time that they can help you collect data, massage and label data. And then the demand sides are project owners who need some high quality training data. That's the data service platform that we launched even like a year and a half ago, served the 35 enterprise clients such as Microsoft, Amazon, and Character AI. We bridged them with a network of 200,000 labelers. Majority of them back then was Web2 labelers that they're basically online freelancers. And we are very excited to start ramping them up today to all of our about 2 million waitlist users from both the Web2 and Web3 communities.
That's absolutely wild. And one just quick thing here. In doing research for the show, I mean, I can't remember the last time. It's been a while since we've had a company come on that has worked with just huge names, Microsoft, Amazon, Snap, funding from insane, it's the Samsungs, the major partners, Binance, Pantera, Polychain. It seems pretty straightforward in regards to what you guys are doing with the 43 million that was raised in the Series A back in August 2024. And obviously huge congrats for that. But how are you guys working with these massive blue chip, top 10 companies in the world? I'm very curious about that. Is it more labeling, like you said? Like, what do those conversations sound like? What's the workflow there? Tell me everything about that.
Yeah, we have two kinds of business working with these enterprise clients. One is the Sahara data services. That's basically the demand side, like Microsoft, they come in to say, hey, I have this project, I need this kind of data. Could you help publish data project on your data service platform? So then they can automatically vet and identify the suitable subset of labelers to work on it. And then we have a very sophisticated quality assurance mechanisms behind that to really bring up the quality of the data to 90+% good ones, right? And that's why we got success, why we can compete with even the giants like Scale AI in this space, because we have these huge networks over the globes that have very varying expertise, and they are attracted not only because of the fiat payments to the work they have done, they also are attracted by the additional rewards. For example, Sahara points that are given to them for the consistently good performance they have on our platform, and the upsides of the Sahara points for sure. And I think that's one thing, the Sahara data service. And we work with almost like 30-ish clients on this part on a range of different projects, from videos to audios to images to text. Very diverse task. There's very little overlaps when we start doing the piloting projects with them, because we're trying to use this as a proof of tag for our platform. So we're trying to take as many frontier and long tail tasks as possible for the clients. Another big part of the enterprise projects are these agent frameworks, the knowledge agent frameworks, right? That I just explained. We work with two major enterprise clients to build specialized agents for their use cases. One is the Indian public company called Motherson. They are one of the largest car manufacturing companies in India. And then they have a range of very interesting domain problems, like agents that can automate the city designers' work, agents that can help the dealerships do a better lead generations and qualification, agent that can help the inventory management and optimizations, agent that can help the HR and financial to do a better enterprise resource management. And we start working on these agents one by one by forming a joint venture with them to eventually tackle the entire Indian manufacturing agent space. And the second one is even more interesting one. It's called Creator Assistant Agent. It's basically, we work with one of the largest creator agency in West Hollywood. They manage over 200 creators that are basically top influencers, celebrities, and KOLs on various social media platforms. They make tons shit of money by engaging with their own fans, by selling media contents, getting gifts, getting tips, stuff like that.
Interesting.
And apparently, if you can create a personal replica for each of these creators, and they can do 24/7 chatting with maybe 10 times more fans every day, and that's like huge revenue boost, right? So we're doing that, and we launched the product about like a month ago with dozens of creators with the agency, and it's looking really good in terms of like improving their productivity. Right now, there's still human chatters involved in monitoring these autonomous agents of those creators, but then we're trying to basically lowering the human interventions, and eventually we can just get rid of them and to have a fully autonomous creator agents talking to the fans, generating sales.
That's so cool.
So that's like pretty much these two service lines. Yeah.
So cool. Sean, what an episode, mate. Before we let you go, any news popping off over the next couple of weeks, months? I mean, you guys are moving and grooving and blazing at lightning speed here, but any big product announcements, anything you can drop on the pod? Mind you, this episode will air mid-Feb, so just be wary of that. But any gold to give us before we let you go today?
Yeah, a lot of good stuff. I want to make sure the audience can take the advantage of upcoming launches from us, right? So we just launched the season 2 of our data service platform. We're ramping up to 100K whitelist users that are selected from our 2 million waitlist users. So we're looking for more tasks, more rewards, more users, and we're still gonna ramp up this even further down the weeks. And then we are looking to launch our Sahara Legends, which is basically an ecosystem growth campaign that allows users to interact with our social media platform, with our product, like data service platform, to earn points. And then we are also launching early February our entire Sahara product suite called Sahara Alpha. For now, it's more like whitelist launching phase that we will start giving access to a small group of developers that are using our whole dev tools to create AI models, from the data sets to model training to model deployment to application integration. But we'll ramp that up very quickly down the month. So please stay tuned.
Love it. Last thing, Sean, where can our listeners find you personally and, of course, Sahara online and on socials?
Yeah, please follow our Twitters. It's basically Sahara Labs AI. That's our handle. And then from there, you can also see easily our website, which is saharalabs.ai. We'll basically announce all of the launches and upcoming campaigns on our Twitter. So please follow us and stay tuned.
Love it. Folks, what an episode with Sean Ren, CEO of Sahara AI. Wow, a lot of work to do on my end, folks. I'm sure that blew your mind as well. We got a lot of homework to do. So many incredible points to touch on in this episode. The personalized knowledge agents, also known as KAs. Really good points on copyright issues in AI, the future of crypto AI, just to name a few. Huge shout out to Sean and the team for making this happen. If you guys enjoyed this one, I hope you did. Please do subscribe. It would mean the world to my team and I. Speaking of the team, love you guys. Thank you so much for everything. As always, and back to the listeners, keep on growing those bags and keep on staying healthy, wealthy, and happy. Love you guys as always. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you on the next one. Ciao.